That is LSU beating Ole Miss in overtime, 29-26. Let's go over the highest graded players from this game for the Tigers, starting off with their cornerback, Zy Alexander, 88.6 grade. Whit Weeks, the linebacker, 84.1. Will Campbell, projected top 10 pick offensive tackle, 76.1. Really good game against a really good defensive line. Braden Swinson, 70.8 grade. Ahmad Bro at a 68.4. And Garrett Nussmeier at a 69.9. Going over to the Ole Miss side of the ball with their highest graded players in this close loss for the Rebels. Chris Paul Jr., the transfer linebacker, has been outstanding all year for the Rebels, and he was outstanding in this game as well, 90.4 grade. Ulysses Bentley IV, 75.2. Walter Nolan, another transfer, has been great for them, 73.7. Wide receiver Caden Lee, 72.4. Another wide receiver, Trey Harris, at 71.7. And Jackson Dart at a 57.6 grade in this game. So, Dalton, for you, what was the stat that told the story in this LSU win?
So I think one of the big catalysts for Garrett Nussmeier bringing LSU back in, of course, what became a Death Valley night game for sure, right? Just wild. Of course, it was going to be wild to the end. It always is. But Ole Miss, they got a decent amount of pressure, decent amount of hurries on him. But 0 sacks and 0 hits, right? They made him move his feet, and when they did make him move his feet, he wasn't great, right? It was inconsistent for Nussmeier. It was. I think he completed less than half of his passes on the night, but he made the throws when it mattered, and the pocket was clean when it mattered. He has 78.8 clean pocket passing grade, 3 big-time throws. I think it's known by now that if he's left in the pocket, he's not the most mobile guy, but if he's left clean in the pocket, got an NFL arm, he's going to make NFL throws. That game-tying touchdown down the middle of the field against 2 man.
Oh, disgusting.
That was an Aaron Rodgers type of throw. That was insane. I mean, he couldn't even see
I saw
him.
that throw in the Super Bowl 45. Aaron Rodgers hit that ball.
That's legitimately like an Aaron Rodgers type of throw. No, Garrett Nussmeier he's an NFL quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how high he's going to go in the draft, but a comeback like that when everything was working against him, against a great team, and they were down early, and honestly, and I think an uglier defensive game than we thought was coming. These two teams played last year. It was 55-49. And you just had both offenses struggling to work the ball down the field. And him and Jackson Dart both had average depth of targets in this game over 15 yards. I mean, just trying to hit home runs. And these two defenses responded by not giving it to them. But when it came down to it, Ole Miss just couldn't. They might have been able to get Nussmeier to move, but they couldn't finish him off on any plays. No sacks and no hits, no knockdowns at all. He was on his feet the entire game, every single throw. So they kept giving him chances. Ole Miss, especially after Trey Harris got hurt, couldn't get those insurance points to really put him ahead 2 scores and kind of put this thing away. Look, it's very clear. If you leave Garrett Nussmeier alive, he's going to beat you.
Oh, absolutely.
That's just where it's at right now. And credit to the LSU defense for keeping him in it all that time. LSU did not lead for a single second of this game.
That's insane.
Not a single second, and he found a way to do it. And now all of a sudden they're in. I think we'd been kind of not talking about him amongst the elite teams in the SEC, but this is such a big win for them as far as just the SEC standings. And now Ole Miss's season is in dire straits.
Oh, absolutely is. Ole Miss has to run the table now to make the college football playoff, and they're probably not going to do that considering they have Georgia still left in their schedule and a couple other hard games too left in the schedule. But yeah, Nussmeier, I mean, listen, it wasn't all pretty for him, but I thought his pocket presence was really good. I mean, he was escaping pressure a lot yesterday. And, for a guy that his biggest weakness for a lot of people was his arm strength, he rifled that ball in there at the very end. So it was a great throw by him. But my stat that told the story on the other quarterback in this game, Jackson Dart, 56.4 passing grade in this one. This is his worst passing grade since week 9 of last season when they beat Vanderbilt. 3 straight games where he set a new season low passing grade. So the first 3 games, he was outstanding, obviously one of the highest graded quarterbacks in the country, but then again, did not play that many great teams as well. 3 straight games, though, where he's had a new season low passing grade. This one is the new season low now. 24 for 42, 284 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, but even under the hood, it's worse than that. 2 big-time throws, 4 turnover-worthy plays in this one. 67.6% adjusted completion rate, which is not good enough either. 27.1 passing grade under pressure, and he was under pressure all night against LSU. 3 turnover-worthy plays came when he was under pressure. And Dawn, for me, this Ole Miss offense is so predictable. That is the one thing when I was watching tape back. The only throw to Trey Harris, and then when he got hurt, they only threw to Caden Lee. There's like what the only Jackson Dart. I think it's an offensive problem, and I think it's a Dart problem too. He only throws to his first read. It seems like right now. Trey Harris in the first 3 quarters before he got hurt had 10 of the 26 targets. Caden Lee in the fourth quarter and overtime had 7 of the 11 targets. Where the heck is Juice Wells and Caden Prescorn, man? This is supposed to be a receiving core that we thought was so deep that we thought, oh, they have many options they can go to. It's not just one guy. It looks like Arizona with Tedero McMillan right now. It's like, oh, that's the only guy we got, so we got to throw to him. When Trey Harris goes down, you have a new number 1 receiver, and then I would think, oh, then you can spread the ball around. Nope, Caden Lee gets all the targets basically. It's a one-read system. I know that, and Jackson Dart is just not getting past his first read. It's a problem for this Ole Miss offense.
It's been far more creative the last couple of years than it looks right now. I'm with you. I'm not seeing a whole lot different week to week, right? I mean, it's kind of the run game isn't all that creative. Not having Quinshon Judkins back there now. I think they have some good backs, obviously, of Bentley and Parrish and guys like, but it's just something. It just feels like something is missing. Something has been off with this offense their last 3 games.
Like second receiver.
It's that, but it's also even
they have the talent though.
Even they have the talent. It's just even all the schemes and stuff. It's just it feels more plain than it did, especially last year. It felt a lot more creative last year, and you're just seeing like pretty basic run schemes and go balls. I mean, again, I think again his average depth of target in this game was over 15 yards, and he's throwing so many. I think he completed. It was something like, did I see 5 of 17 or 16 deep balls? Like they just keep trying to force it. And then early in the game, the one time when it did work, and Trey Harris, Trey Harris ran right by somebody on the deep post and he dropped it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is where Ole Miss is at right now. Is they are so badly looking for these explosive plays, and SEC defenses just don't hand them to you.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. And right now they're continuing to try to force it. They're not manufacturing offense. And you saw even when they had a lead late in the game, if you're not going to run the ball and you're not just going to move the chains without trying to hit home runs, you're keeping teams in games, and that's what they did here with LSU. So I think there really is a problem offensively now for Ole Miss.
I think so too. So Trey Harris, obviously the top receiver for Ole Miss, but there's a receiver in LSU that you want to shout out here. That's impressive.
Absolutely. You're not going to see the highest graded game from Kyron Lacey here. 5 catches on, I'll admit, 13 targets. There was nothing efficient about LSU's offense last night, but Kyron Lacey, 5 catches, 111 yards, only a 67.6 receiving grade, had the game-winning touchdown. I got to be honest, Max, I thought after when he caught that deep post, I think it was in the third quarter, and his knee buckle, his knee bent like that, and he was I thought his year was over. I thought his season was over, and he comes back out late in the fourth quarter and then catches the game-winning touchdown in overtime, in a one-on-one situation. Just, hey, Kyron, go up and get it. He's been so good for them. He's been their best guy all season, and for him to get through whatever injury that was, and we'll see if he just found some adrenaline and played through something, and if he can make those plays, he's good to go next week. But legitimately, I thought his season was over.
Yeah.
In that moment, I was like, oh, if they don't have Kyron Lacey now, and they already didn't have C.J. Daniels, they already didn't have Chris Hilton. I mean, he was all that was out there. At a certain point, him and Mason Taylor had a good game too. But Kyron Lacey, what he's been doing this year, really emerging as that number 1 guy for them. He's been so good, and he was great in this game.
I was really scared after that injury too. I really thought it was bad, and fortunately he was able to come back in, and not only that, but scored the game-winning touchdown as well. So great performance by Kyron Lacey, who's really emerging as their top receiver right now. Dawn, I was shocked by this LSU pass defense in this one. I really thought Ole Miss had a clear advantage in terms of, the offensive line has been okay this year, but just in terms of the receivers and that passing game with Jackson Dart against that secondary, and they were lights out for most of this game, honestly. Even without Harold Perkins against an elite passing game, they still were outstanding. 80.6 coverage grade as a team. They entered the week 87th in the country with a 72.9 coverage grade. They only allowed 6.8 yards per attempt against Jackson Dart. Also, pass rushing wise, they sacked him 6 times with another 6 hits and 23 pressures total on 51 snaps, 42.3% pass rush win rate. The reason why LSU won this game, honestly, was their pass defense. I thought the pass rush was outstanding. The coverage was outstanding. I mean, this defense really came to play today, and this is the reason why they came up with the victory. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, if they're going to get performances like that from their defense, they could find themselves in the SEC title game. And I know it's wide open right now. Obviously, Texas seen as the favorite to get one of those spots, especially if they beat Georgia next week. But no, that was a different level from LSU and their defense than we've seen, really, not just this year, but last year also. I mean, we've been on LSU's defense
for a year and a half now about they just have to, eventually they have to be better if they're going to be a prime contender. They play like they did last night. They work their way into that category.
Yeah, definitely. So big loss for Ole Miss. They're not out of it yet. They technically, I think they can still get in with a 10-2 record, but they still have Oklahoma left in the schedule. Still have Arkansas has looked better and better every week. And then obviously that big game against Georgia later on in the year, and even Florida, who took Tennessee down on the wire. We'll talk about them in a little bit too. So they gotta win out, but they which is big, was not really something that I would predict.
If beating Georgia is a requirement,
that's not good.
You're walking a fine line.
And LSU, still can miss the playoff too, but they have a loss in their back pocket now at least, which is good. They can still afford to lose one more game this year because they still have tough games. They still got A&M on the road, still got Alabama at home. They still have Oklahoma at the end of the year. They still have Florida and Arkansas, even Vanderbilt they have as well. So not easy schedules for either of them. That's why this game is so critical, because the loser of this game has to run the table. The winner of it still has a loss to get later on in the year if they want to make the playoff.